Hi, Bighara here, with another installment of my video blog. Today I'm doing a review of a module that came out earlier this summer called Blood Moon Rising. It was by Peter Spahn from Small Niche Games. David Griffin did the art, and it's for Labyrinth Lord and Labyrinth Lord type games, Basic Expert and so forth, for low-level characters, 1st through 3rd level. I want to make a small disclaimer here. Back when Peter was getting ready to release the module, he put on some of the message boards like Dragon's Foot and Goblinoid Games that he was looking to see if anybody had any ads they'd like to put in the back of his module for free, because he was trying to reach a certain page count for print on demand and that sort of thing. And Faster Monkey Games, whom I'm one of the people behind, gave him a couple ads to put on in this module. Now we did, and he sent us a PDF of the module to look at. Now all this was before I started doing any of the video blogging or any of my reviews, so I just want to be on the up and up about that. Yes, he did do the ads for us, and yes, we got the PDF for free. But that said, I'm going to go ahead and give a review anyway, because it was something I was just reading and I just figured I wanted to talk about it. Instead of a review like I did before, where that was an entire book, I'm not going to break this into sections. I'm going to talk a little bit about different aspects of the module and then give my overall impressions and rating of it. So let's go ahead and get rolling. Like I said before, Blood Moon Rising is for low-level characters, 1st through 3rd. It is, as he describes it, is a sandbox adventure. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, that means it's where you have a location, lots of things going on, and not necessarily just one plot line or thread to follow, and it's sort of up to the players which direction they go and what they do. He's presented, without giving away a lot of spoilers, sort of a main plot that's going on around the time of some events in this location, which is a village named Garanton. I don't think that's too spoilery. And as these events progress, the PCs may or may not get involved at different points of the process. But at the same time, there are other things going on as well. Most low-level mods are usually a fairly simple hook, you know, with maybe a short kind of a crawl or a wilderness adventure with some low hit dice monsters or something like that at the end or throughout it. Blood Moon Rising is a little different. It's a relatively small area that he's describing geographically, but it's extremely detailed. There's a lot of information about NPCs, about the town, about the area around it, and things going on. So it looks at first, as I was reading it, like it's far too hard for low-level characters. But you have to remind yourself, this is a sandbox adventure, and it's not intended, I don't think, that all the players should approach and deal with every single hook and problem. And I think that gives a tremendous amount of freedom to the DM, because it means they don't have to worry about whether or not the players ever found out about this NPC or found out about this creature in the woods or anything like that. I'm trying to avoid giving away any real spoilers here. As I say, there's a lot of detail about the town. There's a lot of detail about the NPCs in the town. There's some interesting stuff going on with things like contests. There's a festival going on. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. And it's an interesting take on doing things like, you know, games of skill and chance and that sort of thing. My overall impression after having finished reading it was it reminded me of an adventure from the 80s that was one of my favorites from the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It was called Rough Night at the Three Feathers for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which also had a timeline that was progressing as the players were dealing with situations. There were lots of NPCs. It's a difficult adventure to run, Three Feathers, because it really requires the GM to be on their toes and to keep track of a lot of different things at once. For that, as well as for Blood Moon Rising, I would recommend that a GM read through the whole thing more than once and really have a grasp of all the different things going on, because some of them are less central than others, but there's still a lot of detail about them. So, with that said, I think that Peter did a great job, like I say, of providing lots of little interesting details for the player characters to pick up on or to leave aside or move on to something else. I do think that the timeline for the main story is fairly complex. There's a lot of things going on, and you have to be very careful that you keep track of the sequence of events and when what happens. There are a few cases where I felt like there were, if the players missed this clue, I didn't see there was a quick way to pick it up somewhere else. So I would worry that they might be stuck at that point because they never found out about something. But primarily it was about getting from one spot to another and getting from one event to the other. And the thing was nice about it that worked out pretty well was that even if the player characters missed a particular event and they weren't there for it and maybe they couldn't affect the outcome of it, they're still likely to find out about it later and can incorporate that information to whatever they're doing. So I think it's important when you're looking at this module that you understand that it's not intended to be a one-track linear get to the dungeon, go through, kill the monsters, get the treasure at the end. It's much more about you're in this place at this time and there are things going on and there are people there, and a lot of these things may lead to further adventures. Yes, there is some treasure to get. Yes, there are some bad guys to fight. There are, some monsters and things like that. But it's really up to the players. And I think another caveat I would put in with this module is that you need to know your group. Not all groups are into that. Not all groups like the nonlinear sandbox. Not all groups, especially if it's a low-level character and an inexperienced player, are going to grab onto that and go looking for those hooks and say, hey, this guy we met while we were watching these guys have a tournament or whatever, he was kind of interesting. I want to find out what's up with him. Not all of them are going to necessarily think to do that, and you have to kind of decide for yourself if you're getting a module and you're planning on running it, whether that's a good fit for your group and your GMing style. Are you ready to drop this plot line and pick up the next one, and can you keep all those hooks, more or less in your head, or at least several of them in your head at once, and be ready to kind of move around a bit. I think it would be a great challenge. I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's even necessarily unbearably difficult, but it does require a certain mindset. So, in conclusion, this is a very, very interesting and detailed piece of work by Peter. I really did enjoy reading through it. It threw me off as I started because, like I say, it was very atypical for a low-level crawl. Well, it's not a crawl, but a low-level module. It didn't have that little dungeon, ruined fort the orcs are in or something like that. It was a very different take, and it also at first looked a little daunting. Like I said, it was like, oh, these parts look kind of tough. But once you get through it and read the whole thing, taken as a whole, I looked at it and I thought to myself, wow, this is almost like a Keep on the Borderlands kind of a situation where theoretically, even if my players didn't keep the party in this location for an extended period of time to adventure, there are enough hooks here to run several adventures just springboarding from this module. And also, as a final note, the details about the village and the NPCs and so forth are something I think that you can cherry pick as a DM and incorporate into your setting and into your campaign. Just piecemeal. Like, wow, I really need an interesting this kind of character, and then you could take that right out of this and not necessarily even use the rest of it because he's, like I say, he's included a lot of neat little details. So, all in all, really enjoyed the module. I do think it's fairly challenging if you're not an experienced GM to be able to run it. I do think it's something that's got to be used with the right kind of group, but it's a quality piece of work. I will speak just briefly about the physical layout. It's very easy reading, nice clean 2-column format, periodic spacing of art to kind of break things up. I think it's a great value for the money, and I give it a solid 4 out of 5 gold pieces. Alright, well, that's going to do it for us now, and this is a little bit of a short one, but it's a simple topic, and like I say, if you're looking for something that's a little more non-linear, a little bit different from your low-level stuff, a little spit sandbox, it's definitely worth your time to check it out. That's all for now. See you later.